The street near the old palace was closed early that morning. Metal barriers were placed on both sides, and officers quietly guided people into standing areas. Tourists gathered with phones in their hands, whispering and waiting. The air felt serious, almost heavy, as if everyone knew something important was about to happen. A royal marching unit was scheduled to pass through, and many people had come just to see it with their own eyes. The guards were already visible in the distance. They wore bright red coats and tall black hats. Their boots shined under the sunlight. Each guard stood tall and still, like part of a statue. Their faces showed no emotion at all. They looked straight ahead and did not move a single muscle. The silence around them made the crowd quiet without anyone asking. Among the crowd stood a woman named Karen. She was not there to watch calmly like the others. She looked annoyed from the moment she arrived. She checked her phone again and again, clearly impatient. Karen believed waiting was for people who had nothing better to do. She felt rules were flexible when they got in her way. She pushed past a few people and moved closer to the barrier. An officer gently told her to stay behind the line. Karen nodded but did not listen. She looked at the guards and rolled her eyes. To her, they were not symbols of tradition or duty. They were just people blocking her perfect photo. Karen stepped around the barrier and walked straight into the open path. A few people gasped softly. Others raised their phones higher, sensing something was wrong. The lead guard lifted his boot to step forward, then stopped mid-movement. The entire line froze in place. Karen smiled proudly. She turned her phone camera on and raised it high. She stood right in front of the guard and posed. She adjusted her hair and tilted her head. She did not notice how quiet the street had become. The guard did not blink. His eyes stayed fixed ahead. His face showed no reaction at all. Karen waved her hand in front of him and laughed. She thought it was funny. She believed the moment belonged to her. A young man named Leo watched from behind the barrier. He felt uncomfortable. He whispered to the woman next to him that she should not be there. The woman nodded but said nothing. No one stepped forward to stop Karen. Karen leaned closer to the guard and spoke loudly. She said she just needed one picture. She said it would only take a second. Her voice echoed slightly against the stone buildings. The guard remained silent. Karen felt annoyed by the lack of response. She lowered her phone and frowned. She asked if he could hear her. Still nothing happened. The silence began to feel strange, even to her. From far down the street, a low drum sound echoed once. It was slow and deep. The sound rolled through the air and reached everyone standing there. The crowd stiffened. Leo felt a chill run down his arms. Karen looked over her shoulder, confused. She had not expected anything to change. Another drumbeat followed. This time it was closer. The sound felt firm and controlled. The guards behind the lead guard shifted their weight together. Their boots moved in perfect rhythm. The march was beginning again. Karen laughed nervously. She thought they would wait for her to move. She assumed someone would ask her politely to step aside. That did not happen. The lead guard stepped forward. His boot hit the ground with a loud sound. Karen jumped slightly. She tried to step back but realized she had walked farther into the path than she thought. People behind the barrier were silent now. Phones were recording. Faces were serious. No one was smiling. Karen felt a small spark of fear. She raised her hand and said she was moving. Her voice was not as confident as before. The guards did not slow down. The drums continued. Each beat felt stronger. The march was steady and unstoppable. Karen turned to leave but hesitated for half a second. That moment changed everything. The line of guards moved forward together, not toward her personally, but forward as a unit. Their discipline was clear. Their focus never broke. Karen finally understood that this was not about her. The path was not a stage. It was a duty in motion. An officer stepped forward from the side and calmly asked her to clear the way. His voice was firm but controlled. Karen nodded quickly and stepped aside, her face burning with embarrassment. The guards marched past without a single glance. Their boots hit the ground in perfect rhythm. The sound echoed down the street. Karen stood still, holding her phone at her side. Her picture never got taken. The crowd slowly released their breath. Leo looked at her and shook his head quietly. He felt sorry for her but also relieved that it was over. Karen walked back behind the barrier. She avoided eye contact with everyone around her. Her excitement was gone. In its place was confusion and discomfort. She did not know yet that this moment was only the beginning. She did not know how many people had recorded what happened. She did not know how far the video would travel. For now, she only felt one thing: shock. Karen stood behind the barrier as the guards moved farther down the street. The sound of their boots slowly faded, but the feeling in the air stayed heavy. People around her began talking again, but their voices were low and careful. Karen felt like every sound was too loud for her ears. She looked down at her phone and saw several missed notifications already waiting. Her hands shook slightly as she locked the screen. She told herself it was nothing important. She believed the moment would pass like any other small mistake. Leo was still nearby, standing with his arms crossed. He watched Karen quietly. He did not feel angry, but he felt uneasy. He had seen situations like this before, where someone thought rules did not matter. This time felt different because so many eyes had been watching. Karen tried to act normal. She fixed her jacket and lifted her chin. She looked around as if daring someone to say something. No one did. That silence made her more uncomfortable than words ever could. An officer walked past the barrier, calmly checking the area. He did not look at Karen. That made her feel invisible in a way she had never felt before. She wanted someone to argue with her, to tell her she was wrong, so she could defend herself. Instead, she was ignored. The crowd slowly began to thin. Tourists moved away, talking about lunch plans and other sights to see. Some people stayed behind, still replaying videos on their phones. Karen noticed a few screens pointed in her direction. She turned away quickly. Karen decided to leave. She walked toward her car with fast steps. Her thoughts raced. She told herself that the guards had overreacted. She said to herself that anyone could have made the same mistake. Still, her chest felt tight. Inside her car, the silence felt loud. She closed the door and sat there without starting the engine. Her phone buzzed again. This time she looked. A video notification appeared. Then another. Then several more. Karen tapped one without thinking. The screen showed her standing in front of the guard. The angle was clear. Her voice was loud. The silence of the guards was powerful. The moment looked worse than she remembered. Her face felt hot. She closed the video quickly. She told herself it was just one clip. She believed it would disappear by the end of the day. More notifications appeared. Karen scrolled without opening them. She saw comments piling up. She saw people sharing the video. Her stomach dropped. She started the car and drove away. The city looked different now. Every red light felt longer. Every pedestrian looked like they were watching her, even though they were not. At home, Karen placed her keys on the table and sat down heavily. She stared at the wall for a long time. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from her sister asking what had happened. Karen typed a short reply saying it was nothing serious. Even as she sent it, she knew that was not true. She opened the video again, this time watching it fully. She noticed details she missed before. Her posture looked demanding. Her tone sounded rude. The guard looked calm and unmoved. The contrast was painful. Karen felt something new rising in her chest. It was not anger. It was not fear. It was realization. She thought about how sure she had been that morning. She thought about how she had stepped forward without thinking. She thought about how she expected the world to pause for her. The comments kept coming. Some were harsh. Some were calm but firm. Many asked why she thought rules did not apply to her. Reading them hurt more than she expected. Karen put the phone face down. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, life continued as usual. Cars passed. People laughed. No one cared about her moment anymore. That thought scared her. She realized that the guards would continue their duty every day. The officer would move on to the next task. Leo and the others would forget her face soon enough. But the lesson would stay with her. Karen sat back down and picked up her phone again. She did not respond to the comments. She did not try to explain herself. For the first time, she did not try to defend her actions. She watched the video one last time. She focused on the guard's stillness. She focused on the discipline. She focused on how small she looked standing there. Karen finally understood that respect was not something you demanded. It was something you earned by knowing your place. The shock was no longer loud. It was quiet and heavy. It followed her thoughts and settled deep inside her. She turned off her phone and leaned back. Her reflection in the dark screen looked tired. She did not recognize herself fully. Karen closed her eyes and took a slow breath. Tomorrow would come whether she was ready or not. The world would keep moving forward. And this time, she knew she would think twice before stepping in its way. Morning came quietly for Karen, but her mind was already loud. She woke up feeling heavy, as if the events of the previous day were still pressing on her chest. She reached for her phone before even sitting up. Notifications filled the screen again, more than before. She hesitated for a moment, then unlocked the phone. The video had spread far beyond what she imagined. People from different places were sharing it. News pages had posted short clips with captions talking about respect and public order. Karen felt her stomach tighten as she read the words. She did not recognize the confident person she saw on the screen anymore. She sat on the edge of her bed and watched the video again. This time she focused on her own face. She saw the impatience in her eyes. She saw the way she stood as if the space belonged to her. That version of herself felt distant and uncomfortable. Karen stood up and walked to the bathroom. She splashed water on her face and looked into the mirror. The reflection looked ordinary, not powerful or special. That realization stayed with her as she got dressed. She chose simple clothes and tied her hair back without thinking much about it. Outside, the world moved as usual. Neighbors walked their dogs. Cars passed by. No one stopped to look at her. Karen realized that the moment that felt so big to her was only one small piece of a larger world. She decided to go out, hoping fresh air would help clear her mind. She walked to a nearby cafe she often visited. Normally she would walk in confidently and expect quick service. This time she hesitated at the door. Inside, the cafe was busy. People talked and laughed. Karen stood in line quietly. She noticed how easy it was to wait when she allowed herself to. When it was her turn, she spoke politely and stepped aside. As she waited for her drink, she noticed someone watching her. It was a middle-aged man sitting by the window. He looked at her, then back at his phone, then at her again. Karen felt a small wave of anxiety. She wondered if he recognized her from the video. The man stood up and walked past her. He did not say anything. That simple moment reminded Karen that not every look was a judgment. Still, the fear stayed. Karen took her coffee and sat alone at a small table. She watched people come and go. She noticed how many small rules everyone followed without complaint. Standing in line. Holding doors. Waiting their turn. These were things she never paid attention to before. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from her sister asking if she was okay. Karen stared at the screen for a long time. Then she typed an honest reply. She said she was embarrassed. She said she was thinking a lot. Her sister replied quickly, saying mistakes happen, but learning matters more. The words felt comforting but also challenging. Karen knew learning required effort. Later that day, Karen went for a walk near the same area where the march had happened. The barriers were gone now. The street looked ordinary again. It was hard to believe how intense it felt just one day earlier. She stood on the sidewalk and looked down the open path. She imagined the guards marching again, steady and focused. She imagined herself standing there, not as the center, but as an observer. A group of tourists passed by, laughing and taking photos. Karen watched them quietly. She noticed how they stayed behind invisible boundaries, guided by signs and common sense. No one tried to step into the center. Karen felt a strange mix of regret and gratitude. Regret for how she acted. Gratitude for the lesson she received without lasting harm. She sat on a nearby bench and opened her phone one more time. She saw messages from people defending her and others criticizing her. She realized both sides missed the point. This was not about winning or losing an argument. It was about awareness. Karen typed a short post. She did not blame anyone else. She did not make excuses. She simply said she had learned something about respect and shared space. She pressed send and closed the app. For the first time since the incident, she felt a small sense of relief. The sun began to lower in the sky. Shadows stretched across the street. Karen stood up and took a slow breath. She felt lighter than she had in days. She knew the video would not disappear overnight. She knew some people would always remember her as the woman who blocked the march. But she also knew she could choose what came next. As she walked home, she paid attention to the rhythm of her steps. She matched her pace to the flow of people around her. She did not rush. She did not push. Karen finally understood something simple but powerful. The world moves forward in its own order. Respecting that order was not weakness. It was strength. Days passed, and life slowly settled into a new rhythm for Karen. The noise around the incident became softer with time, but the lesson stayed clear in her mind. She no longer woke up with panic, but she woke up with thought. Each morning felt like a quiet reminder of how quickly a moment could change perspective. Karen returned to her normal routine, but she noticed herself acting differently. She waited more patiently in lines. She listened more when people spoke. She stopped interrupting without realizing she had done it before. These changes were small, but they felt meaningful. One afternoon, Karen received a message from her workplace asking her to attend a community event. The event involved helping organize visitors during a public ceremony in the city. Normally, she would have ignored such a task. This time, she paused before responding. She accepted. On the day of the event, Karen arrived early. She wore simple clothes and a clear badge. Her role was basic. She was there to guide people where to stand and explain rules calmly. Nothing about the job felt special or important at first. As visitors arrived, Karen spoke gently and clearly. She answered questions without irritation. When someone complained about waiting, she nodded and explained patiently. To her surprise, most people responded kindly. Karen noticed something unexpected. Helping others follow rules did not feel controlling. It felt cooperative. She realized rules were not barriers meant to block people. They were paths meant to guide everyone safely. Later that day, a familiar sound echoed down the street. A steady drumbeat rolled through the air. Karen froze for a moment. She turned and saw the royal guards approaching again. This time, she did not move forward. She stepped back and helped others do the same. She reminded them gently to stay behind the line. Her voice was calm and respectful. As the guards marched past, Karen watched quietly. She felt no urge to step into the path. No need for attention. No need to be seen. The guards moved with the same discipline as before. Their faces were calm. Their steps were steady. The sound of their boots felt powerful, but not intimidating. Karen felt something shift inside her. The moment felt peaceful rather than tense. She realized how different the same scene could feel when viewed with respect. A young girl standing nearby tugged on Karen's sleeve and asked why the guards looked so serious. Karen smiled softly and explained that they were doing an important job and needed focus. The girl nodded and watched quietly. When the march passed, the crowd applauded politely. Karen felt proud, not of herself, but of how smoothly everything went. At the end of the event, an officer thanked the volunteers. Karen listened quietly. She did not seek praise. She felt satisfied simply knowing she had contributed positively. That evening, Karen walked home slowly. The city lights glowed softly. People passed her without noticing. She felt comfortable with that. At home, Karen sat by the window and reflected on the past week. She thought about how easily confidence could turn into entitlement. She thought about how silence could be more powerful than shouting. She opened her phone and saw fewer notifications now. The video was still out there, but it no longer controlled her thoughts. She had accepted what happened. Karen realized something important. Growth did not come from being right. It came from being aware. She understood that respect was not about status or attention. It was about understanding space, time, and other people. Karen closed her phone and looked outside once more. The street was quiet. No drums. No crowd. Just the steady movement of life continuing forward. She smiled softly, not with pride, but with humility. The shock that once embarrassed her had become a lesson that grounded her. She knew she would remember it for the rest of her life. And this time, she was thankful for it.